Hello there! Today is recapping day 52 of working on a currently untitled project, so let's hop right in. So yesterday I worked on impact effects. So now when a projectile hits, oh dear, it does look like there are still some bugs under very specific circumstances. Yeah, I'm still trying this out. Short version is you have projectiles that can fire out, and once they hit, right now they spawn. This is spawning two different effects. Well, two of the same effect. One is reflected across the normal. It's taking the incoming velocity and reflects that across the normal, and that's the output facing. And then the other one is just facing in the direction of the normal. I've gone through a few iterations of this. I'll get into that in the ramble section, but this is working well enough for the moment, for the most part. Obviously, there are still bugs, as you can see right here, like it's not working. I'm not quite sure what's happening. I need to debug this now. I was testing on these guys over here, and that problem was not happening for them. I've made temporary alterations to the blastode so that it only fires one shot, but I'll set back to 2 shots and also fix the damage and other values soon enough. Yeah, so that's it for the core stuff. If you want implementation details, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, feel free to click off. So, how I am doing things right now. Sorry about the background noise. I've made a few different passes on this so far. So my first attempt was first draw a line from where you were to the first contact point that was gotten, and see, hey, if you hit something, then that's clearly where the projectile impacted, and because the contact points can be weirdly positioned. I was initially spawning my actual first pass was I spawned them at the source of the contact point, and that resulted with the impacts spawning inside of walls or spawning outside of walls, which did not look great, for obvious reasons. So this was my attempt at fixing that, where I raycast against the collider that you hit and try to hit that point, or just raycast in the direction of that point of the contact. And if you hit something, then spawn the impact effects. But the problem is that this didn't always work. There would be cases where if the projectile was just glancing off the side of, like if it was just barely glancing off of like the side, like just right around here, then nothing would spawn in, because the contact point was outside the object that was being hit, and trying to raycast against that resulted in the raycast just going off into space, which obviously is not good, because then you don't get impact effects there. So my second attempt at fixing this was to then raycast a second time based on the normal of the impact. You take the contact point, the ray's origin is the contact point plus the normal of the contact point, and so you just scoot out a bit based on the normal, and then you raycast in towards where you just hit, and in theory you should hit something. The problem there is that sometimes the impact effects spawned in the wrong direction. And I think this is again just an issue with the geometry and the exact configuration of the impact, the contact points, and the raise and all that stuff. Just the exact configuration of everything is just weird. And so it would spawn, just using these values, this would sometimes spawn the impact effects going into the object rather than going out from the object, which is obviously wrong. So my third pass is just getting the closest point on the Kaleido to the contact point, and just using the contact point's normal. And that seems to work pretty well. It seems to be a one-size-fits-all solution. It seems to just generally work. It will only work against convex mesh colliders, so it's not a perfect solution, but it seems to work in most cases. The problem is, now there is obviously a case pretty visible here where it's not working. So my hunch on this is that it is finding the closest point that's being found is actually under the object, because these projectiles are very close to the ground, and the projectile is moving quite fast. So I think what's happening is that it is just barely not hitting the wall, and then it goes through the wall, and it goes so far into the wall that the closest point on the Kaleido for the wall is in the ground rather than on the side. That's my hunch. So yeah, now I need to find a solution to that. One solution would just be making the walls taller. I think I can actually just test that out and see if this is just grab this guy and scoot that down. And now let's see if I can reproduce that. And it seems like I'm not able to. So I believe my assertion there is correct. That it's that the problem is that it's that it's just it's going into the ground rather. So my thought on this is I was wondering if I should keep this first check. And I think I should, because I think this will automatically solve the problem in most cases. I think that this is like more correct. Basically, if you can raycast from your previous position to the contact point, do so, and then use that as the position for spawning in the impact effects. Otherwise, just pick the closest point on the Kaleido and use the contact point's normal, and just hope that that's good enough. And this avoids the problems of the second raycast that one was having, where it was spawning things in facing the wrong direction, and should catch all the cases that aren't caught by just a simple raycast, because this catches like almost everything. It's just very narrow cases that doesn't. It's very specific instances where you're just glancing off of the side and the contact point ends up outside the object that this case fails. I'm pretty sure closest point on the Kaleido is also pretty expensive for the most part, so it's nice to not do this by default. I don't know exactly how expensive it is compared to a raycast, but raycasts are pretty much free, so, this should be fine. And I'll need to update the comments. Alright, yeah, so I think that's about everything. This, I may need to do another pass on this at some point, but right now it seems pretty good. Yeah. If you have any comments, questions, ideas, or anything else on your mind, leave a comment below. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.